All right, hi everyone. I thought today, since I wanted to take a little bit of a break from Marvel Champions, that I would record something a little bit different today. So I've got today what I'm going to play is I've got the solo and cooperative version of Lorcana that they just came out with the most recent set. So we've been playing Lorcana since it came out last summer, and we really got into it during set 2 and set 3, and then with set 4, Ursula's Return, they came out with this co-op mode where you can actually play against Ursula and play against this automated deck that she uses. So you can play it solo, and you can play it, I think it's up to 4 players, is that what they recommend? And each player can when you buy the box for it, it comes with 2 pre-built decks that you can use to go against her. But just like as if you were playing a competitive Lorcana game, you can build your own deck before you come into the game. So I built this deck, not necessarily specifically to go against Ursula. I built it as kind of a deck I thought it would do okay against Ursula, but also just a deck that I wanted to try building for competitive play. So I built this is also just a modified version of one of the decks that come with the co-op box. The co-op box, one of the 2 decks it comes with, is a deck that focuses on using these brooms. The brooms have been something I've been trying to get to work since the very beginning of the game, but they just haven't worked super well. But with set 4, they added a bunch of new brooms and a bunch of new cards that make brooms a little bit more viable. When you buy the co-op box, it comes with this mat to kind of help you organize everything. And then it's got this lore track on the bottom, but the lore track on the bottom doesn't work super well when you're playing with the lore counters that it came with because they don't fit on the track. So I'll probably just use dice. That'll be the easiest thing to use, most likely. If you're new to Lorcana, it's very similar to other trading card games where you are building a deck before the game, and then you are using that deck to go against another player, usually. In a trading card game like Magic, for example, you're using the cards to attack the other player's creatures and eventually attack the other player and get their life total down to 0. In Lorcana, rather than starting at a certain amount of health and trying to knock your opponents down to 0, everybody starts at 0 points, 0 lore, and you're trying to gain lore until you get to 20, and then whoever gets to 20 first wins. And the way you get lore is from this symbol here on each of the cards. So some cards are able to gain 1 lore, some are able to gain 2. Most are going to gain 1, but there are some that gain 2, and then there's some that can gain 3, so on and so forth. So anytime you see that little diamond symbol on a card, that means that's how much lore that card can gain. And the way it does that is by questing. So each character, after you have it in play, can, they call it exerting in Lorcana. You'll probably hear me say tap because I'm used to playing Magic. So you can exert a character, and one of the things you can do to it when you exert them is you can have them quest, and that's how they gain their lore. The other thing that you can do with a character when you exert it is you can have them attack another character. In Lorcana, it's called challenging, and that's when you're going to use these 2 numbers here. So you're going to use this number, their strength is basically their attack, and then this number, their willpower, is how much health they have, essentially. So this is how much you're going to attack another character for, and this is how much damage it's going to take for this character to get discarded, which in this game they call banished. So let's take 2 characters out of here just as an example. So let's say, as an example, let's say I had Mickey attack Yensid. So Mickey would attack Yensid for 3. Yensid has 3 health, so that would be enough to knock him out. But Yensid also deals damage back to Mickey. He deals 1 damage back to Mickey. Mickey has 4 health, so that wouldn't actually knock him out, but he would have 1 damage. Another thing that's a little bit different from like Magic, for example, is in Magic, damage kind of disappears at the end of combat if it doesn't take out the character. In this game, the damage stays, so you'll actually track the damage, and it will stay on your characters unless you find a way to heal them, which there are ways to do so. Then the way you actually play the cards is each card has a cost in the top left corner, and then some of the cards have this orange yellowish swirl around the cost, and some cards don't have that. So like this card doesn't have that. So what that means is the cards that have the little swirl around them, around the cost, that's an inkable card, and the cards that don't have that little swirl are an uninkable card. So on your turn, you can do an action called inking a card, and you basically just take a card from your hand and essentially remove it from the game to become a resource that you're going to use towards playing other cards. So for example, let's say it's my first turn and I've got this Magic Broom that only costs 1 in my hand. I could take this card because it's got the little swirl around it, and I could ink it, which means I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it face down, and then I can exert that ink, and I only have 1, so then I could play this card. Then maybe on my next turn, I've got this one that I played before. Maybe I now exert this or ink this card, and now I've got 2 ink that I could spend. So I could spend that to play this card because he costs 2, or if I've got 2 different cards that cost 1 each, I could do that. But this card here, I can never do that with. I can never put that into my inkwell as resources to play other cards with. This is a card I can only play. There are some cards that give you exceptions to that. Obviously, one of the new cards in the new set makes it so that when you have it in play, all of your cards are inkable no matter what, things like that. So there's always ways around things, obviously, but those are kind of the general rules. And then obviously each card will do different things when it's played or when it is banished or things like that. So those are the characters. There's also actions and items. And there's 2 different types of actions. There's regular actions that just do something and then they go to your discard pile. And then the other type of action is songs. Songs are essentially the same as regular actions, where they're going to do something and then they're going to go to your discard pile. But the thing that songs can that you can do with songs that is different is that you can actually have a character that you have in play, quote unquote, sing the song as an action. And that's another way that you can use characters by exerting them. So if you look at this card here, it says a character with cost 4 or more can exert to sing this song for free. So if I've got this and then along came Zeus card in my hand, normally I could pay 4 ink to play it, or I could find a character that I have in play that costs at least 4, and I can exert them to sing this card from my hand without having to pay the 4 ink cost up here. That's awesome because then I don't have to use the ink to pay for it, but then this character can't do anything else that turn because they are exerted and they can't quest for their 2, in this example, the 2 lore that he quests for, and he wouldn't be able to challenge either. So normally, if you're playing just a normal deck against another person with a normal deck, you're just going to play the game until somebody hits 20 points, and then once somebody hits 20 points, that's the end of the game. With the co-op mode, with the solo co-op mode that we're playing here, our goal is still to get to 20 points. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to 20 points before Ursula gets to 40 points. So she is going to gain lore from her cards, similar to how we gain lore from our cards, and all that kind of stuff. And she's going to try to get to 40 points, and we're going to try to get to 20 before she gets to 40. The co-op mode comes with different difficulty levels. For the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to play on the easiest difficulty level. I have 1 on the easy difficulty level, and I have 1 on the next difficulty level up, the normal difficulty level. The hard difficulty levels are really hard. So just to kind of show off how this works, and for the sake of simplicity, since I'm recording, I'm going to play on the easiest difficulty level. All right, so I'm going to shuffle up my deck, and then we'll get started. All right, so I've got my starting hand here. So your hand size in this game is 7, unless something causes it to be different. And then after you draw your initial hand, you're allowed to do a mulligan. So you can discard any number of cards up to all 7 of them, and then redraw that many. The way the mulligan works in this game is you discard as many cards as you want, and they go to the bottom of your deck. Then you draw that many off the top, and then you reshuffle. That way you're not going to just get those same cards back. That way you're guaranteed to get something different. You're going to want to always try to make sure that your opening hand isn't too expensive and you don't have too many uninkable cards, because obviously at the beginning of the game you need to build up your inkwell and have enough ink to be able to play cards. And then you want to try to have at least one cost card in your hand at the beginning of the game. That way you can actually play something on your first turn. So those are kind of the ideas that I go with when I try to decide what I'm doing with for my first hand. So this actually happened to be a pretty good first hand, so I'm just going to keep it. And then I'm not going to go into all the deck building rules in this video, but as you can see, I have 2 different colors of cards. I've got these purple cards that's called Amethyst, and then I've got these gray cards, they're called Steel. In this game, you're allowed to have a deck of either all 1 color or just 2 colors. So there's 6 colors to choose from, but you can only ever use 2 at a time. Okay, so then in the co-op mode, Ursula goes first, and the way her turn is going to work is at the beginning of her turn, she is going to follow these steps here. And so at the beginning of her turn, any cards of hers that are exerted are going to ready. Then if she has any cards that say that they happen at the start of her turn, those effects will happen. Then on her first turn, this is the first thing we can actually do, which is resolve the row. And that says, resolve the row of characters and items Ursula has in play from the player's left to their right. So the only card she has in play at the beginning of the game is her Stolen Trident, which says that we are going to exert it, and Ursula is going to gain 1 lore. So we're going to go ahead and exert it. And like I said, I'm just going to give her lore with dice here. I'm just going to use that as her tracker across here. Then she is going to draw cards. At the beginning of the game, she's going to draw 2 cards whenever she draws cards. If you're playing on the higher difficulty levels, as she gains lore, you can see these lore numbers are kind of filled in with a different color. As you are playing on higher difficulties, as she gains lore, her draw will increase. But since we're playing on easy, we will never increase her draw, so she will only ever draw 2 cards on her turn. So she's going to draw 2 cards, and we're going to set them here. And then the last thing is reveal. 1 at a time, Ursula reveals and acts on every card in her hand. After finishing with each one, move on to the next one. The way that she uses her cards is she needs to be able to pay for them just like we do. So we're going to look at the first card, and you can see here it costs 2 ink. Right now she has 0 ink, so she is not able to pay for this card. So for her, what she does is she just takes that card and turns it into ink. So now she has 1 ink. So now when we reveal this card, if this card costs 1 ink, then she'll be able to play it. So this card also costs 2. She only has 1, so then we would put this over here as well. Eventually, when she gets a card that she can play, she doesn't have to use any of her ink, she just has to have it. So she never uses it. So if she has 3 ink and she draws 2 cards that both cost 3, she'll get to play both of them. So she can build up her board really quickly. All right. So now it's our turn. So now we're going to decide which of our cards we want to ink and which of our cards we want to play. All right. So I've got I've got Chernobog's followers. Whenever this character quests, you may banish them, discard them to draw a card. I've got Magic Broom. When you play this character, you may shuffle a card from any discard into its player's deck. I don't have any cards in my discard pile right now, so that's not super useful. When you play this character, chosen character gains resist +1 until the start of their next turn, start of your next turn. And resist means damage dealt to them is reduced by 1. This is just a generic Broom character. Quest for 1, has 2 attack and 4 strength, or 4 defense. Mickey Mouse. This one is you pay 1 less to play broom characters, so I'm going to want to hold on to this one because the majority of my deck is brooms. And then whenever one of my brooms is banished, I can return it to my hand. This Mickey Mouse is resist +1, and when you play this character, deal damage to chosen character equal to the number of brooms you have in play. And another broom, when you play this character, you may shuffle all broom cards from your discard into your deck. Okay, so of all of those, I think what I want to do is I'm going to ink this guy here just because he's generic and not super useful, and I'm not going to be able to play him until my 3rd turn anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and ink him, and then I'm going to use the ink from him to play Chernobog's Followers. Now, characters that you play, unless they say otherwise, are called, the way that the theme of this game works is that we are playing as Illumineers that are literally drawing these characters into existence. And so we're using ink to draw these characters. That's why the resource is called ink. And so this character that I just played is the ink is still drying, essentially, is the way that they, the theme that they use. So I cannot use this character on the turn I play it. So I won't be able to do anything with him until my next turn. So on your first turn, and if you don't draw a character that costs 1, you don't do anything, basically. So you want to be able to do something on your first turn. That way on your second turn, you can actually use that character. Okay. I'm going to set my ink off to the side over here just so it's a little bit easier. And that's technically exerted right now. My favorite thing about Lorcana is that you can't do anything on other players' turns. You can only do things on your turn. So you can't interrupt another player from doing things, anything like that. That's something, I love Magic and I play it fairly often, but my least favorite thing about it is how all the timing works, and that is basically gone in this game. Okay, so then it is Ursula's turn again. So she's going to ready her cards. She doesn't have any start of turn effects, so then she's going to resolve the row, which means she's just going to gain 1 lore for now. And then she's going to draw her 2 cards. And then she's going to reveal the first one. This one costs 3. She only has 2. We're getting lucky on that so far. And then this one costs 7. She only has 3. This is crazy. This is the most cards she has not played against me in a while. That does mean, though, that when she does play cards, she's going to hit some strong cards eventually. Okay, so then at the beginning of my turn, I ready my cards as well. And then I draw 1 card at the beginning of my turn. I only get to draw 1 card. So I drew Yen Sid. That was a perfect card for my second turn. Perfect card to draw on my second turn. I'm not going to play him yet. So he says, when you play this character, if you have a character named Magic Broom in play, you may draw a card. And then while you have 2 or more broom characters in play, this character gets +2 lore. So he would quest for 3 whenever he quests, as long as there are 2 or more broom characters in play with him. So I'm going to want to put a broom character in play before I play him. So I'm going to want to play this card because this is going to be the only one that I'm able to play this turn. So I got to decide what I want to ink. And I wish this card were inkable because it's the most expensive card in my hand that I'm not going to be able to play anytime soon. I think I'm going to ink this one. And then, because I'm not going to want to play a cost 3 card next turn anyway, because I'm probably going to want to play this card this turn and then this card next turn. So I'm going to not end up playing a 3-cost card on my next turn anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this guy and then pay 2 ink and play this Magic Broom. This one says when you play this character, you may shuffle a card from your discard into your deck, but I don't have any cards in my discard right now. And I could technically do that to Ursula, but I wouldn't want to necessarily. She does have 1 card in her deck that's actually good for the players, so I could do that. All right, now that I've played that character, remember again, I can't use him this turn. But then I can use this character. So I'm going to go ahead and quest with this character. And that's going to get me 1 lore. And I'm going to keep track of my lore with a die here. And the ability on Chernobog's followers is that when I quest with them, I can banish them to draw a card. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So they're going to go to my discard pile, and I'm going to draw. And I drew another Chernobog's followers. Okay. All right, then it is Ursula's turn. Oh, technically that should have stayed exerted. Beginning of her turn, she readies it, and then she exerts it again for 1 lore. And then she draws her 2 cards. All right, she's got 4 ink. Hey, look, she can finally play somebody. So Flotsam has Bodyguard, so he is going to enter play exerted. And what Bodyguard does is if I were to attack any of her characters with my characters, I have to attack her Bodyguard characters first. So they kind of protect her other characters. All right, and then her second card costs 0, so this will come into play. Ursula's contract, it says opposing players can't use battleground abilities. So this is something we haven't talked about yet. Depending on which difficulty level you're playing on, you have a different battleground. And this one says we're playing on easy mode. And it says we have these abilities over here on the side. Basically, we can pay lore to activate these abilities. When playing on easy, I haven't really found a use for these yet because playing on easy has been easy enough that I've been able to win without needing them. However, when you play on the higher difficulty levels, they become a lot more useful. And they're more useful when you're playing with more players as well. So you can have one player focus on gaining a bunch of lore to help the group by spending their lore to use these abilities. But when you're playing solo, like I can't spend a ton of lore because I'm the only person playing and I have to get to 20. So if I spend too much lore, then I'm going to lose. But I do have these available options. So I can spend 1 lore to remove 2 damage from chosen character. I can spend 2 lore to ready or exert a chosen character. So I could ready one of mine, or I could purposefully exert one of hers so that she couldn't use it. She'd be able to use it, because if you exert another player's card during your turn, it'll just ready at the beginning of their next turn. So the reason you would want to exert another player's character is so you could attack it. And then I could spend 3 lore to draw 2 cards. So those are abilities that I have available to me. While her contract is in play, I can't use those. But it's only going to be in play for 1 turn. At the start of her next turn, she's going to banish this item to gain 3 lore. So her cards all use this at the start of your turn. And since it's Ursula's card, it's referring to Ursula. I wish they had just used Ursula instead, because this makes this wording really confusing. I wish they had just said at the start of Ursula's turn, banish this item, because your is really confusing because it makes it sound like it's supposed to happen at the beginning of my turn, but it's at the beginning of Ursula's turn. So at the beginning of her next turn, she'll banish that and gain 3 lore. Okay, so then it's the beginning of my turn. I'm going to ready my ink, and I'm going to draw a card. Let's see what I get. I got another uninkable Magic Broom, same one I have already. All right, so this turn, I think I'm going to, I'd really like to play both of these characters, but then that would mean I would have to ink either of the 2 Mickeys, which would be unfortunate. I think I will. I'm gonna ink this Mickey, and then I'm gonna pay 3 ink, and I'm going to play Chernobog's Followers again, and I'm going to play Yen Sid. Yen Sid says when you play this character, if you have a character named Magic Broom in play, you may draw a card. I do have a Magic Broom, so I get to draw a card. Oh my goodness. I am getting unlucky with the draws. I've got 3 of the same card, and they're all uninkable. Oof, this is not good. Hopefully I draw a better card at the beginning of my next turn. Otherwise, I am not going to be playing much next turn. Okay, I just played these 2 cards, so I can't use them. I could attack her Flotsam with my Magic Broom, but I would only deal 2 damage to it, and it would deal 5 back to me. And so I don't want to do that. So I think I'm going to just quest with the Magic Broom for 1 lore, and then that's going to be my turn. Okay. So then on Ursula's turn, she's going to ready her cards. And now she does have a start of turn ability. She's going to use her contract, so she's going to discard that. Oops, her discard is over here technically. She's going to discard that and gain 3 lore. Then she's going to resolve the row. So now she's going to gain a lore from the trident like she's done every other turn. And then her characters are always going to quest as long as they can. So if for some reason we were able to make it so that this guy had to attack, then he would attack this Magic Broom. Because I forgot to explain this, you can only attack characters that are exerted. So I could have attacked Flotsam because he was exerted. He could not choose to attack either of these 2 characters because they're not exerted. Because you have to use a character before it becomes vulnerable to being attacked. So if we were playing a normal competitive game, this character would have no issues being able to attack this character. But since we're playing against Ursula and her goal is to just get to 40 points as quickly as possible, she's always going to quest whenever she can. So he's going to quest for 2 and go up to 9. Okay, then we're going to draw her 2 cards like we have done every other turn. She's got 4 lore. This card is the same one she just had, so that costs 0. And then she only has 4, so she can't play this, so she's going to ink it, and she's got 5 ink now. All right, I'm going to ready my 3 ink. I'm going to draw. Let's hope it's inkable. It is. All right, I got a 6-cost Magic Broom, and I am going to ink that. And even, I should ready my Magic Broom here. Even with that, I only have 4 ink. I only have 4 ink, and every card in my hand costs 5. I didn't think about this before. I probably should have, well, it wouldn't have mattered actually. If I had inked this Mickey instead of the other one, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because so this Mickey has shift. So if I had been able to play this Mickey first, then I would have been able to play this one for a less expensive cost. So this one here says shift 3. So instead of paying 5, you can pay 3 if you play it on top of another character named Mickey. So if I had this Mickey that I discarded earlier in play, I could play this Mickey on top of him like this. But I wouldn't have been able to do that with the particular hand that I had because of how many uninkable cards I have. So I'm not going to be able to play any new cards this turn. I'm going to have to wait. Unless I could do that. So I'm going to, even if I do that. So I'm going to quest Chernobog's followers. So I get 1 lore for that. And then I'm going to banish them like I did before, and I'm going to get to draw a card, and I drew a Magic Broom, and I'm going to go ahead and play it. So it costs 3. I'm going to go ahead and play that. This one is while this character is at a location, it gets +2 attack. I haven't gotten any locations yet. I'll explain them when they come out, but they basically are another type of card, but they sit sideways, and then you can move characters into them, and then they have certain abilities. But now that I have 2 Magic Brooms in play, that's going to make my Yen Sid better. So he is going to, while you have 2 or more Broom characters in play, he gets +2 lore. So he's going to be able to quest for 3 since I have 2 Brooms in play. That was a really good draw. So 4, 5, 6. And then I can also quest for 1 with this Broom and go up to 7. Okay, and then that is going to be it for my turn because I only have 1 ink left and I can't do anything with only 1 ink. Okay, so at the beginning of her turn, she's going to ready her characters and items. She's going to do her start of turn ability, which is using this to gain 1. And then she's going to use these guys to get 1, 2, 3. And then I keep putting that here as her discard. Okay, And then she's going to draw her 2 cards. Okay, so she's got 5 ink. Her first card costs 5, so she's going to put it in play. The shark says, when you play this character, deal 2 damage to each opposing damaged character. So none of my characters are damaged right now, so it's not going to do anything back. All right, she's got 5 ink, so if this card costs 5, this card costs 4, so it's going to go into play. This one says, when you play this character, the opposing players together choose an item or location of theirs and banish it. I don't have any items or locations in play, so that also doesn't do anything. But now you can see on her next turn, she's going to quest for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and she'll be at 19. And I'm only at 7. But she also has to get to 40, and I only have to get to 20. And I got my Yen Sid in play, which is super helpful. One nice thing about her is that she does not attack your characters with her characters. So unless you... she does have some cards in her deck where she'll just wipe out all your characters just with the card ability. But otherwise, she doesn't attack your characters. She just quests for the most part. So if you can get a really good questing card out like I've got right now, you can beat her just by questing slightly faster than her because your number is a little bit lower than hers, because I only have to get to 20, whereas she has to get to 40. So depending on how that goes, it can be okay. All right, so I readied my ink, I readied my cards. I'm gonna go ahead and draw. And I drew a Magic Broom industrial model, which I am going to just immediately ink. And that gets me up to 5. And then I'm gonna just pay all 5. And I'm going to play Mickey Mouse. This Mickey Mouse says shift 3, so I could play him on top of a Mickey, but I don't have one, so I'm just gonna pay the full 5. He has resist 1, so anytime he takes damage, it's gonna be reduced by 1. And then when you play this character, deal damage to chosen character equal to the number of brooms you have in play. So I have 2 brooms in play, so I can deal 2 damage to a character. I will deal 2 damage to Flotsam just because it's the lowest. He has the least amount of health. It makes it more likely for me to be able to actually get rid of him. Okay. Then I'm for sure going to quest with Yen Sid because he quests for 3. So I'm going to go up to 10. And then I can't do anything with Mickey this turn. These guys together. Oh, these should be exerted still. These 2 should not. Okay. If I used these 2 Magic Brooms together, they would attack for a total of 3, and I could take out Flotsam, but then they would both be gone, and that would make Yen Sid less good. And so I think I'm going to wait and not do that yet. So I think I'm just going to quest with both of them. I'm just going to try to quest out and see if I can't win in the next couple turns. So I'm going to go up to 12. And then she is going to do her turn. So she's going to ready all of her stuff. Then she's going to use all this stuff. So she's going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lore. So she's going to go up to 19. All right, and then she's going to draw her 2 cards. She's got 5 ink. This is 2. This one says, each opposing player chooses and banishes one of their characters. Well, that sucks. That's okay. I'll get rid of one of my brooms because I will be able to play another one on my next turn. All right, and then her second card says... nice. Okay, so this one costs 7 and she does not have enough, so she's just going to ink it. Sweet. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and ready all of our stuff. And we're going to draw a new card. And I drew another Magic Broom. Okay, So I've got 5 ink, so I'm just going to pay all 5, and I'm going to play this Magic Broom. This one says, when you play this character, you may shuffle all broom cards from your discard pile into your deck. I only have 1, so I've got 1. So I'm going to go ahead and shuffle that into my deck. All right. And then I got back to having 2 brooms again, so I'm going to go ahead and quest with Yen Sid for 3. Okay. And then I could quest for 3 more with Mickey and Magic Broom. I think what I want to do, if I attack Flotsam with Mickey, I would take him out. And Flotsam would deal 5 minus 1 because of resist, but that would still knock Mickey out. But even if I knock Mickey out, I would have enough questing to win on my next turn. So just to reduce the likelihood that she's going to get a ridiculous amount of points, I'm going to go ahead and use Mickey to take out Flotsam. So Mickey goes to my discard pile. Flotsam goes to her discard pile. And then I can't quest with this Magic Broom, or anything with this Magic Broom because I just played it, but I will quest with this Magic Broom, go up to 16. And then I win on my next turn unless she finds a way to get rid of all my characters, which is entirely possible. She has those cards. So, all right, let's see what happens. Okay, so she readied all of her stuff, then she's going to use it all. So 1, 2, 3, 4 points for her. So she goes up to 23. And then she's going to draw her 2 cards. So she has 6 ink. This card only costs 2, so it just comes into play. This is just a basic character, doesn't do anything right away when it comes in. And 5 ink, also a basic character, doesn't come in, doesn't have anything crazy when it comes in. Okay, so I think I won. So then I ready my stuff, draw a card, got another basic Magic Broom, and then I have 2 Magic Brooms in play, so I can quest for 3 with Yen Sid and 1 for this Magic Broom, and that brings me up to 20. So that's it. So as you can see, the easy difficulty level is fairly easy, whereas the other difficulty levels get really hard, especially as she hits these milestones of lore, because then she starts drawing more cards. So I got a really lucky start in this game where she wasn't able to play a card for a long time. So she was just getting 1 lore per turn for a while because she wasn't able to play a card for so long. There have been times where she plays cards right away on her first turn just because of getting cheaper cards earlier. It seems like also the times I've lost, I have not gotten this Yen Sid card. I only have 2 copies of this card because this is a trading card game. You have to actually get cards. Obviously, you can only build decks with what you have unless you buy a bunch of cards. So I only have 2 copies of this card, and they're both in this deck. So if in a 60 card deck, if you only get only 2 copies, if you don't get that card, then obviously it's going to be more difficult. But he's really good in this deck, obviously. And when I've lost, I have not had him out. Also, I've been playing at the higher difficulties when I've lost, so that also is part of it. The battlefield abilities, like I said, become a lot more important when you play on these higher difficulty levels as well, because they make it a lot more, a little bit more interactive with her characters, where you can do things that you normally can't do in the competitive game. Like you can't spend lore at all usually during the competitive game, but you can heal things that you normally wouldn't get to do. You can draw extra cards. Card draw in Lorcana is very important, as it is in any card game, obviously. But yeah, so after my losing streak in Marvel Champions, I decided I needed a break and I needed to try to get a win. So that was another reason why I wanted to play on easy, is I kind of wanted to just get a win today. So All right. So let me know if you guys want to see more Ursula videos, Lorcana videos, and I'll play this a little more often. I want to try to get better at playing at the higher difficulties because I have not done well on the higher difficulties. So, all right. Thanks for watching, everyone.